I don't want to grow up, I'm a Toys R Us kid. For generations, that jingle was an anthem of childhood. It represented a magical place, a toy wonderland where Geoffrey the giraffe reigned supreme. Toys R Us wasn't just a store, it was an institution, a category killer that at its peak controlled over 25% of the global toy market. With annual revenue soaring past $11 billion, it seemed invincible. So how did this colossal empire, a name synonymous with childhood joy, go from market leader to a heartbreaking memory of empty shelves and going out of business sales? This is the story of how the world's greatest toy store lost its way. The story begins with one man's vision. Charles Lazarus, a World War II veteran, returned home with a simple but brilliant idea. He noticed the post-war baby boom and realized parents would be spending a lot on their kids. He started a baby furniture store, but soon pivoted. The real money, he discovered, wasn't in the cribs, but in the toys that filled them. In 1957, he opened the first true Toys R Us, pioneering a model that would change retail forever, the supermarket for toys. Instead of small, seasonal toy selections, Lazarus offered a massive, year-round inventory stacked high to the ceiling. It was overwhelming, it was exciting, and it worked. Throughout the 80s and 90s, the company experienced explosive growth. The iconic big box stores with their rainbow striped facades became a cultural landmark. It was the destination for every birthday, every holiday. Toys R Us wasn't just selling toys, it was selling an experience, a rite of passage for millions of children. Its dominance was so absolute that it could make or break a toy manufacturer. A spot on its shelves was the ultimate prize. The company was at the top of its game, a retail giant that seemed utterly unshakable. But in the world of business, nothing is permanent, and the first cracks were already beginning to appear. As the 90s wore on, new challengers emerged. Big box retailers like Walmart and Target began aggressively expanding their toy sections. They used a different strategy. For them, toys weren't the main event. They were loss leaders. They sold popular toys at or below cost to draw families into their stores, knowing they would also buy groceries, clothes, and electronics. Toys R Us, a specialist, couldn't compete on price with these diversified giants. Then came a pivotal and ultimately disastrous decision. In the year 2000, as the internet was beginning to reshape commerce, Toys R Us signed a 10-year exclusive partnership with a burgeoning online retailer, Amazon. The deal seemed smart at the time. Toys R Us would handle the buying and inventory, while Amazon would manage the website and fulfillment. Toys R Us essentially outsourced its entire online presence. In doing so, it failed to learn the fundamentals of e-commerce. Amazon, however, learned everything it needed to know about the toy business, from pricing to seasonality. When the partnership soured and ended, Amazon was a fully fledged toy competitor. Toys R Us was left a decade behind, with an online presence that accounted for a tiny fraction of its sales, trying to play catch-up in a race it had already lost. The single most fatal blow, however, came not from a competitor, but from within. In 2005, the company was taken private in a massive leveraged buyout, or LBO, a consortium of private equity firms, KKR, Bain Capital, and Vornado Realty Trust, purchased Toys R Us for $6.6 billion. But here's the catch with an LBO. The buyers didn't use their own money. They used a small amount of their own capital and borrowed the rest, a staggering $5.2 billion, and then placed that debt directly onto the books of Toys R Us itself. Imagine buying a house with a huge mortgage, but instead of you being responsible for the payments, the house itself is. This is what happened to Toys R Us. Overnight, the company was saddled with crippling debt. It was forced to make annual interest payments of over $400 million. To put that in perspective, in most of the following years, that interest payment alone was more than the company's entire operating profit. All the cash that should have been used to innovate, to remodel tired-looking stores, to build a modern website, and to compete with Walmart and Amazon was instead being funneled straight to Wall Street to service this colossal debt. The company was in a financial straitjacket, unable to invest in its own future. The decline became visible to anyone who walked through the doors. Under CEO Dave Brandon, who took over in 2015, the company attempted cost-cutting measures, but the damage was too deep. Stores grew dated and messy. Customer service, once a hallmark, declined as staff numbers were cut. The magic was gone. Customers were now engaging in showrooming. They'd visit Toys R Us to see a toy, then pull out their phone and buy it cheaper on Amazon. The financial data tells a stark story. While the overall US toy market was actually growing, Toys R Us's sales were shrinking. After peaking at over $13 billion in the mid-2000s, revenue had fallen to around $11.5 billion by 2016. The company was losing market share year after year, starved of the capital needed to fight back. It was a slow, agonizing downward spiral driven by a decision made a decade earlier. The debt was a ticking time bomb, and time was running out. The inevitable finally happened on September 18, 2017. Toys R Us officially filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, citing its $5.2 billion debt load. The hope was to restructure and emerge leaner. The company and its suppliers gambled on one last chance, a strong holiday season. But it was a disaster. Shoppers, worried about the company's future and armed with better deals elsewhere, stayed away. Reports showed same-store sales plummeted by more than 15%, a catastrophic result. The lenders lost faith. There would be no rescue. No buyer emerged who was willing to take on the company's massive debt and operational challenges. In March 2018, the final heartbreaking announcement was made. Toys R Us would be liquidating its entire US operation. All 735 stores would close, 33,000 employees would lose their jobs, an American icon was gone. The images of empty stores, of Geoffrey the Giraffe waving a final goodbye, marked the sad end of an era. In the aftermath, a huge void was left in the toy industry, which competitors like Target, Walmart, and Amazon quickly filled. While there have been attempts to revive the brand, with new owners launching small-scale store-in-store concepts, the grand magical kingdom of Charles Lazarus's vision is a thing of the past. The story of Toys R Us is more than just a business failure. It's a powerful cautionary tale. It's a lesson in the dangers of corporate debt and the absolute necessity of adapting to a changing world. It reminds us that even the biggest giants can fall if they take their eyes off the future. And for millions, it remains a poignant, nostalgic memory of a time when being a kid meant visiting the greatest toy store in the world. Thank you for watching. If you found this story interesting, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world. We'll see you next time.